our United Methodist Churches have for years welcomed the people in our communities. But for some people, the inviting stairs are really obstacles that keep them outside looking in. And inside many of our churches, the problems of accessibility are just as uninviting. Steep stairs here, a few steps there, narrow doors and tiny bathrooms, water coolers people cannot reach. John Bass of Spring Hope, owner of Bass Farm Sausage and a member of Gibson Memorial United Methodist Church, knows well the importance of making our churches handicapped accessible. Injured in his youth, John has been a quadriplegic and wheelchair-bound for 35 years. John is now helping his church to become fully handicapped accessible with the help of a grant from the Duke Endowment. What he has to say, we need to hear.
All it takes to make a church or a fellowship hall or any facility inaccessible is one step. Everything's frustrating when you're handicapped, but if there's some things that you can do something about within reason, then you should try to do them. The Duke Endowment is a real strong advocate of accessibility, and when they come to a church, and they came to our church, and Joe Mann saw the problems with a non-wheelchair accessible bathroom and a fellowship hall that was not accessible, and people having to get in and out of the rain without being able to go from one place to the other, it was almost instant that they were willing to do it. I mean, they are really strong supporters of accessibility. As I said, if you can't get into church, you can't worship.
If a church doesn't have a lot of money, we've been lucky to have Duke Endowment and has some things, and if it's not in a position to do a lot of huge physical things, what would be some smaller things it could do to help?
A ramp. A simple wooden ramp, not that expensive, to at least get in the main sanctuary or to get in the fellowship hall. I mean, suppose you have to do 2 ramps. It can't be that expensive. You know, things are simple. It doesn't take a huge amount of money to make things accessible. Just somebody with a little bit of ingenuity.
Ramps, allowing people with mobility problems to go in and out of their church, are the single most important improvement a church can make. They can be simple, they can be elaborate, they can be made out of wood, concrete, or brick. They can even be built indoors as well as outdoors, allowing access to different parts of the building. Larger churches with big facilities have installed elevators or mechanical lifts. But churches are also doing more for the physically handicapped. They are replacing doorknobs with levers that are easier to open. They are putting in the high-low water coolers to accommodate people at different heights. They are installing handicapped restrooms with appropriate handicap fixtures and rails, as well as baby changing stations for mothers with infants. For churches which offer showers, some have installed shower seats. There are many other kinds of disabilities, however, that require other strategies. Blindness, deafness, developmental disabilities, mental retardation, and mental illness also make it difficult or impossible for many good church members to participate in the life of their congregation. John Bass also talks about another social change that requires our churches to be prepared.
No, the word handicap, you can paint it with a broad brush. I mean, with disability, it doesn't necessarily mean wheelchair. It could be a person with a mental handicap or just an older person that needs more room to get around in the bathroom. As I said, we're an aging society. In order to serve all the people, we're going to have to be able to have it so that the elderly people have accessibility to our church.
Some churches have programs for the developmentally disabled, including adapted playgrounds for the children. But many churches can also help by installing individual sound systems for the hearing impaired and large print hymnals and Bibles for those with poor eyesight. Some of the changes we need to make can be simple, like offering big print hymnals. Some projects and programs are more elaborate, more expensive, and more time-consuming. But we need to do what we can. John Bass says why.
It's necessary. I forgot the percentage of the people that go to church, but if you've got a church that's not accessible, it certainly gives somebody an opportunity to either go to another church or not to go to church at all. Why aren't you going to church? Well, I can't get in. You know, I'm sure there's a passage in the Bible somewhere. Let's make everything where you can at least get in and worship the Lord.
The Conference Committee on Disability Concerns was established to be an advocate for persons with disabilities and to help our local churches develop and support programs, ministries, and resources that make our congregations inclusive and accessible to persons with disabilities. To help us meet this goal, this year the committee is asking local churches to fill out an online accessibility audit to help us identify areas of work that need to be done and the resources we most need to provide. By your helping us now, we hope to help you later. The accessibility audit is found on the conference website under Clergy Resources. This survey consists of a series of yes or no questions under 8 categories: church entrance and halls, parking, restrooms, doors, sanctuary, elevators, transportation, and church administration, leadership, worship, and church school. Our hope is that you will also use this audit as a tool to examine your own church's situation, identify the areas you will work on first, and make a plan for the coming year or years to move your church toward greater hospitality and inclusivity for persons with disabilities.
It makes you feel more a part of the church. I'm a big advocate of accessibility, but I'm also a person that has rationality about there's some places in the world that I won't be able to get. But with a lift or an elevator, if you can make a church accessible or a small ramp, you should do it for all people, because we're an aging society. There's a heck of a lot more older people than there is younger people, and that geriatrics is going to demand that we have more accessibility.
All persons have sacred worth in God's eyes, including persons with disabilities. Let's not leave anyone behind as we make disciples for Jesus Christ.